ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Rest Pass. What episode are we on?
19.
Episode 19 of Apron Work Podcast with Chubb Boys, Walton, Rest Pass, and wait, is Peach, you there, bud?
Oh, I'm here.
Oh my god, yes. The prodigal son has returned in a blaze of glory. And I can't speak English.
A blaze of glory.
Yeah, so we're back to the good old fun days.
Walton's
Peach, how you
side coming out?
Oh, come on. You find one picture of a guy behind my entertainment stand.
I was
Peach,
more,
how you do?
I was more excited for the Chaboys coming back than Peach. No offense, Peach, but Chaboys left for a little bit.
Oh, he held off on that.
Yes.
I did it last week, but I'm glad you've listened to the podcast since you've been out. But I did it last week as a kind of a joke thing because it was funny. But whenever you decide to listen, that'd be great. Yeah. Well, Peach,
I only like listening to myself. I'm a little narcissistic.
Please, I'm the narcissistic one of the bunch. How's your time away from the podcast, Peach? Did you miss us? Did you miss the...
Like a hole in the head.
Like a hole in the head.
Means I didn't miss it.
Oh, okay. Wow. So, everyone, get excited for this week's episode of Paperwork Podcast. You can tell right where Peachy's at. Jesus
I'm watching
Christ.
wrestling.
Jesus Christ. Yes, well, hold on. Rest Pace, how you doing today? Don't let me... Excuse me.
Fantastic.
That is great to hear. Were you missing this podcast like a hole in the head?
I was away for a week. It was about 10 days ago since last time.
Yeah, it actually has been a while.
It was
since
like last Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it was. It was
4th of July we recorded.
Yeah, so it has been a while. So yes, I've missed it. Even though Peach has been away a lot longer, I've missed it.
Yeah, I didn't miss Peachy. We actually had conversations on those two other podcasts, so it was great. No, so as Peachy kind of alluded to there, we are watching wrestling tonight. Currently, while we're recording this, Extreme Rules is on. Mike posted to the Facebook page our predictions, and I'm pretty sure, as you would expect, I'm currently leading the pack of correct predictions so far. I think by one.
That sounds about right. That's.
Yeah, I think that's it. We have a lot of same answers for this pay-per-views. It's 2018 Extreme Rules is what we are watching. So if you hear us just kind of break off and go ooh or ah, it's either Peachy took his shirt off or something awesome happened in the pay-per-view.
I'm wearing my Wally shirt.
Are you?
Yeah.
I can't see. Your room's too dark. So that's kind of where we're at. So. To help tie into the topic this week, during the pay-per-view, spoiler warnings for those that haven't watched it yet or don't want to know, but I'm assuming that this actually will be addressed on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, I was going to say, this episode will be airing Tuesday, and we're recording Sunday, so I'd assume people know by now.
Yes, but Kurt Angle made an ultimatum to the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar, that if he doesn't show up to Monday Night Raw tomorrow, Kurt Angle is going to be stripping him of his Universal Championship. Now, Michael Respass, why would Kurt Angle strip Brock Lesnar of his Universal Championship?
Well,
side note, before you answer, our topic this week is going to be Brock Lesnar himself, just because hopefully Mike will be able to answer, but a lot of news surrounding Mr. Lesnar. So, Mike, why would he want to do that?
Well, before I get into that, since this will be
hold on.
Since this will be noon on Tuesday, what happens on Monday Night Raw will have already happened. We obviously do not know. So for those listening, hoping to find out what happened last night on Monday Night Raw, we don't know because it's Sunday night.
We probably should have thought of that before doing this topic.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to talk about what they did on Monday Night Raw. It's supposed to be what happened leading up to this. Is what the topic's supposed to be. We're just interconnecting it to what just happened in Extreme Rules. So I do not really want to discuss what Kurt Angle is, why he's doing it, except to mention the UFC thing and everything like that. So is
so
that
Peach,
what
do you
want
know
me to say? Is that what you're
trying
to pull out of me?
I guess so. I'm trying to pull a couple things out of you, but yes. So Peach, do you know what's going on with Brock Lesnar?
Yes, him and Cormier have a spat going. Cormier won, and he called out Brock Lesnar.
Okay.
So Brock's probably going to go back to UFC.
Okay. And
so Lesnar was there to answer, right?
Yes.
That was the most scripted thing I want to say in UFC history.
Yeah.
Because it was absolutely terrible. Did you see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mike, did you see it?
Yeah.
Best Pass?
Yeah. I was going to say, for me to explain to the people out there that don't necessarily pay attention to UFC and wrestling, since I'm assuming most people listening to us watch wrestling, Cormier is Daniel Cormier, who is the heavyweight champion of UFC. Brock Lesnar, who has jumped back and forth from UFC, was there, and after Cormier won, I believe Cormier called him out and he walked into the ring, right? I kind of watched a little bit of it.
Yes.
Yep.
So Brock Lesnar kind of came in and pushed him, and it was Monday Night Raw. I mean, it was super duper scripted.
DC was laughing. DC was laughing at the whole thing. It was terrible. But yeah, so Lesnar looks like is challenging DC at I heard it was going to be in December, but
he has a suspension he's got to go through, so I think he can't technically fight until January.
That's what I heard. So I think it's getting pushed to either January or February for the match. But Lesnar looks like, as a lot of people predicted and everything like that, he's going back to UFC to fight for their title. But he is still your reigning, defending, undisputed WWE Universal Champion. Did you guys like my little Paul Heyman impression there?
No, it was terrible.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Thank you, Pass.
You're welcome.
So let's start there. Let's start with the Universal Championship side of things. What are your guys' thoughts on Lesnar as champion?
I guess I'll go. I like it and I don't like it. It's I have a lot of mixed feelings with him as champion. I understand what they're trying to do with him. You will have the WWE fanboys will tell you that, hey, Okada only defended the title so many times. Why can't Lesnar? All of this stuff. But WWE is on a whole different level than any wrestling ever has been with their amount of content they put out. Guys need to be there. When you're wrestling as often as they do compared to other promotions, guys need to be there constantly. What they're doing with him is what they would have done way back when, before things were really on TV, and it would have worked perfectly, but it just doesn't now. It doesn't, and the fans know it, that it doesn't. The fans know that he doesn't love wrestling, that he's there for a paycheck, and they're going to constantly pay him. And it's hurt. Him being champion has hurt them more than him being champion and not being there, if that makes any sense. I think he could be there week after week, and it still was going to hurt ratings. If he just showed up and Paul Heyman came out and talked every week, he still wouldn't wrestle every week because they still would use the same gimmick with him. And I think after a certain amount of time, it got stale. And we've mentioned this before in past episodes. It's stale. You need to change it up, and they're trying to do the right thing to mix it up with what's going on at UFC. They're almost trying to backpedal that hole that they dug themselves in, and I think it's purely because he's gone. And I know we won't get into that. We're talking more about the Universal Championship, but I think they know he's gone, and they got to try to backpedal their way out of what's happened.
I don't think he's gone. I think Brock Lesnar's probably one of the smartest businessmen currently, because he has both Dana White and Vince McMahon by the balls and is controlling both of them completely because he knows how much money he can draw them. Do I think he's gone from WWE? No. He's definitely still with Vince, but then still working on UFC, and both Dana and Vince are going to let him do whatever he wants and go back and forth between UFC or WWE depending on what he wants.
Well, I will say, when I meant gone, I meant like his focus is on UFC right now. Yeah. Not gone forever. I just meant he's going to be temporarily gone for the time being.
So before I want to let Peachy get his thoughts, but I do want to bring up the statement you mentioned about Okada after Peachy brings. I'm just calling it out so I don't forget. But Peach, what are kind of your thoughts on Lesnar, like as the Universal Champion?
I don't like him as the champion. There's no legitimacy to it. He does 2-3 moves, and it's predictable, and it's just not a fun match to watch. So, like, the champion that has to defend their belt, every so often, and they're just not good matches. So I'd rather have somebody more fun to watch than Brock Lesnar.
See, I will quickly, just to cut you off, I will argue that he does legitimize it, in my mind. As a champion, he legitimizes it, and that's why he's the champion, because he is a badass. So I will just throw that and continue on, Peach.
The character that they have for him, where he doesn't talk and all he does is an unstoppable beast, and I get that, and it's great for them to. He's a moneymaker for them, but me personally, I don't like it.
So yeah, I will respond to that, but it looks like. So as we said, we're watching Extreme Rules as we record this. Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley went on in the middle of the card, and then spoilers, Bobby Lashley won. So Mike Respass and I were saying that's why that wasn't your main event. So I'm like, oh wow, they might put on Styles versus Rusev since that's the WWE Championship.
I told you.
It's not.
I told you what it was going to end with. I told you that.
It looks like the Iron Man match is probably ending this pay-per-view, which is that's weird.
I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Right now, I'm going to look into the future. Dean Ambrose is coming back.
Yeah,
and not only is Dean Ambrose coming back, I expect
are we going to heel Dean
Ambrose costing Rollins the match. That's what I predicted so Rollins to win, and I'm not going back on that prediction. He's on my predictions, obviously, to win. But if we had done an episode, I would have said, and this is what I thought when I was putting it, that if Rollins loses, I expect it to be because of a returning Dean Ambrose costing him the match.
Awesome. I like that. So, back to Lesnar as champion, and back to our regularly scheduled program. Lesnar as champion, legitimizing it, all that fun stuff. I agree with Mike. He does legitimize it in a sense because of how much of a badass beast he is, and they set him up perfectly for that. This is in my mind, some of the longest storytelling WWE has done in a very long time. They started it with a couple matches, and then he was losing those. He lost to Cena. I think he lost to Triple H at Mania. And then maybe he lost again to Triple H right after that. But then whatever got set up. I forget what timeline matches there. But then Lesnar beat Taker at Mania, and that was the start. I still disagree with it. I think Taker's streak was the one thing that should have been kept intact. Or, as much as this hurts to say, it should have just been Reigns beating Taker. He shouldn't have the Lesnar loss. I think it would help legitimize Reigns even more if it was just Reigns that beat Taker. Because then they fucked that up by not letting Reigns beat Lesnar at Mania 34 or whatever it was. But then you had that story. You had him then get the title match against Cena, which he absolutely dominated in a lopsided match. You then have Lesnar, I think he had a Cena rematch, and then he had the triple threat match with Cena and Rollins at the Rumble, which we were at, which was one of Lesnar's best matches since he's been back, because that match was incredible. And then you had him lose the belt by the cash-in, which Lesnar didn't get pinned. So they did that one really well, but now they've backed themselves into a corner to where you have this beast that is so unstoppable that they have nobody to beat him right now. And the thing that sucks is that legitimizes the title because nobody can beat Lesnar. So he does deserve to be your champion because at that point it wouldn't make sense for him to not be your champion and still be unstoppable. Almost.
Yeah. And I was talking about Lesnar. It's funny because I do believe fans would enjoy this more if their options were Cena, Reigns. Like, if they had the same old options fans don't want, it would be different. The problem is the roster from NXT to the WWE roster is stacked. It's absolutely stacked. I mean, from an outside of WWE fan perspective, from an inside WWE fan perspective, look at the roster that they have. Like from
the problem with the roster,
they have too many guys that everybody wants to see. I mean, you got a guy, and I know I'm a huge Kevin Owens fan, and I'll always be a huge Kevin Owens fan. This guy showed up as NXT champion, calling out John Cena, and then beating John Cena clean
in his first match.
Like,
first match on the main roster.
He showed up and decimated Sami Zayn his first night. His best friend. He came out and decimated him. He won the title by knockout. This guy came in as a super duper badass. And now and he's funny. He's hilarious, and that's what I love about him.
Well, I thought
he's
Kevin Owens.
Joke.
I was going to say, I thought Kevin Owens' best friend, El Generico, went down to Mexico to help save kids. I thought that's what he was doing.
Yeah, that is what happened. So Sami Zayn had to become his new friend.
Yes.
But
here's the problem, though. None of those guys have the star or the drawing power as Lesnar.
Yeah, but I'm talking about from a fan perspective. From a fan,
right.
Not from a business perspective. I'm talking about a fan perspective right now. There is too many alternatives for a champion. And I'm just using Kevin Owens as one example. You got Finn Balor. You have Braun Strowman. I know Styles is the champion on SmackDown. You have Nakamura. I'm just throwing out random names. That's not even the guys coming up from NXT yet. You know, if
you can legitimately have Rusev. Rusev could be
Drew McIntyre. But you have all these guys. I'm talking about from a fan perspective. Well, I'm not talking. I know why WWE is doing it, and I'm not complaining on why WWE is doing it. I'm talking about from a pure fan perspective. You have guys that are here week in and week out.
But if you're saying from a pure fan perspective, that would mean if it was a truly fan perspective, that means these guys should be champion from a business standpoint. Because if the fans were truly behind Rusev as champion, well, now this is what sucks. Like, if they were fully behind him, like they are Lesnar, in a sense, from a business standpoint. I'm saying
its lowest ratings in however long.
Yeah,
isn't that bad for business?
Well, as I'm saying it, and this is where I'm realizing I'm wrong because I'm like, oh yeah, if the fans were behind Rusev, they would buy his merchandise, and I'm like, wait, they are buying his merchandise.
Yes.
So that's where I just kind of put my foot in my mouth and ate it for dinner. Because I'm unhealthy like that.
But, like, could you imagine, and I get the whole chicken shit Kevin Owens storyline and everything like that, but if this was for a title, where he's just constantly running and he just backwards asses his way into wins against Strowman. Like, but I'm just saying, like, they have so much they can go off of right now, and they're, from a viewer standpoint, at one of their worst times. Yeah. So you could say it's good for business and everything, and if Lesnar is such a huge draw, people are going to tune in to see if he's showing up. So either A, they have to do a better job of teasing that he might show up and be okay with people being pissed off that he wasn't there, but know that people are going to show up, or they have to do something different. You can continue to say he's a good draw, but the only reason their numbers are up from a stock perspective is because of Fox buying SmackDown. That's the only reason why. It's not because Lesnar's bringing in big money matches now, because it's stale. You can only wrestle him and Roman Reigns so many times. And again, it's a WWE point of view. Either Reigns had to have already got over that hump in the 3 matches in 12 months that Lesnar wrestled, or somebody else has to. And what's going to happen is Lesnar's going to come out tomorrow night. Strowman's going to cash in and have the title, and you won't see Lesnar again until after the UFC. And that's what's going to happen because they backed their way into this.
I'm all for that happening, honestly.
Yeah, but they backed their way in this. The reason why there was no lead into this is because UFC happened and Lesnar did what he wanted to do. And it's great for Lesnar, and it might be great for the fans right now, but there could have been a better way this was done if they knew what was going on.
Yeah, I agree.
But, like, do you think the championship should be, like, a combination of popularity versus skill versus, like, what they are bringing in for the company, like, merchandise-wise and shit, too?
I think the champion should always be the guy that brings in the most money. And if Lesnar is bringing in the most money, I think he should always be the champion or something close to it.
I think Lesnar should not be the champion and should just be a special draw. Like, kind of how
like Cena's been.
It kind of like that.
Cena out of but I mean, like the Undertaker at WrestleMania, like that's what. Show up at WrestleMania and SummerSlam. He doesn't need to be in the title. I think we discussed it before. He doesn't need to be. He can main event WrestleMania without the title involved, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. You're going to piss off fans, but guess what? The casual fan is going to show up to watch him and Goldberg wrestle again at WrestleMania without the title. The title adds nothing to his matches.
The title added nothing to that feud, and that title just sucked. I think when there was no need for that to be a title match. They could have just did it as a third match and then have your better match for that Mania was Jericho versus Owens with both titles on the line. Have one of them become a dual champion at WrestleMania. I think that made more sense than putting it on Lesnar.
And with this whole co-branding of all the pay-per-views, you don't need every title defended. But
no,
you need to take turns. Like, it can't be SmackDown title, SmackDown title, SmackDown title, SmackDown title. Oh, this time it's SmackDown and Raw. Let AJ Styles take a pay-per-view off. This pay-per-view would have been a perfect time to have neither one of the heavyweight titles. It would have been perfect to have that 30-man Iron Man match possibly be a 60-minute Iron Man. I said 30-man, 30-minute. But I'm just saying
you can't have Styles take off because then I would be I'm looking at it from my standpoint. I'd be even less likely to watch this pay-per-view if Styles
doesn't have to be a title match.
Right, the heavyweight
he doesn't have to defend the
Extreme
title.
Rules.
Yeah. Okay, I thought the way you were phrasing it is
I'm saying take the title match out of it. You don't have to have that title defended, everyone. Especially if you have a guy like Lesnar who's not going to be at every pay-per-view. Let Styles be in. This match could have happened as a non-title. Him and Rusev could have happened as a non-title, and if Rusev wins, he gets a title shot at the next pay-per-view. It's that whole long-term booking could have happened in this. Oh, he's going to have a shot. I'm just saying the lead-in would have had to have been different. But he didn't have to. I mean, right now you have your biggest defended championship not even main event in this match.
Yeah,
the night. It delegitimizes this title when your other title... when your other title's not being defended constantly. So if this was a normal one-on-one match or some type of ladder match or something some type of gimmick match, and then you ended it with the Intercontinental, it boosts the Intercontinental. It does not drop the value of this match or these guys because this is showing that they don't trust Rusev. Honestly, it's not AJ Styles. It's Rusev. This is we don't trust Rusev to be in the main event, and Rusev definitely is not winning this match. Because not that I thought he was going to anyway, but he's definitely you end the night with a Rusev Day chant. You end the night with Rusev winning this. So right now you're telling me AJ Styles definitely winning it. We don't trust Rusev to be at the main event, which I find interesting that they trust Dolph Ziggler to main event it.
Well, I don't think it's.
I think it's the Dean Ambrose thing.
That's what they trust. They trust AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose.
Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose.
Seth Rollins. Sorry.
AJ Styles is going to have to defend his title again.
But I wouldn't be upset.
But like a secondary pay-per-view like this, if the Intercontinental was the main title defended at the end of the night, it wouldn't be that bad. You know?
I agree.
But not when a higher championship is being defended earlier on in the night.
Yep, that's what I don't get. So the one thing you brought up earlier that I wanted to kind of swing around and touch back on is the Okada comparison that you made. So, what was the comparison exactly? Like, so Lesnar has had 10 title defenses through his 400 and I think we're over 450-day reign as champion. Now, Okada, during his reign, which I believe was 700 days. If
I remember right, it was less than 10. If I remember right, I'm
not
100% sure.
I think it was 12.
Okay.
For some reason, I think it was 12 title defenses. But I do want to look that up just because I do not want to get that incorrect. 12 title defenses over 720 days. Jesus Christ.
But the biggest
Every
difference
2 months.
was, and again, it was all WWE fanboys that don't know enough. There's two huge things, and I know you want to get into it, and I'll continue on. There was two huge things. One, it's not a weekly episodic, show like WWE that has 17 hours worth of programming every week and has monthly pay-per-views. It's not the same thing. And then there's two, Okada, if they showed the amount of matches wrestled, Okada matches, he wrestled a shit ton of matches.
And that's where I wanted to touch on is the way New Japan does it is essentially they book a lot more tag matches to kind of try to give some of the guys like rest.
Yeah.
So they're not kind of working as much. So they do it in the G1. Like so one of our original topics that we were talking about this week, was going to be kind of the G1 and related to tournaments. So I was doing a lot more research into it. One of the things they do with the G1 is that when the A block is wrestling, their tournament matches, the B block is also on the card, but they all wrestle in tag team matches every night. Right. So that's why it's a grueling tournament, but it helps give like an Okada some break because he's not wrestling a full 20, 30-minute match. He's in there for 10 or 15 minutes for the match at total, but he's actually only wrestling maybe 5 minutes of that, if at all, to help give these guys a break. So yeah, that's where, to me, the Okada comparison just goes out the window. It's not like Okada has, like, I don't even know what it is, but Lesnar, like, if he's had 10 title defenses, he's had maybe less than 20 matches, all in all.
Yeah.
While he's been champion. Like, and that's a stretch, I think.
And that's including, like, live event matches that's, like, a huge Madison Square Garden event. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's, like, including those things. Not even just TV matches.
Yeah, but I even think, like, those were title defenses, so I think he might have only had, like, 10 matches since he's been champion.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I like that with Lesnar, just not as champion.
No, yeah, I agree.
I would be...
And the whole Okada only defend the title 12 times. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the main title being defended 3 times a year. I'm perfectly fine with that. That does not bother me. It's not that. It's the fact that he's only wrestled a handful of matches other than those 10 matches. That's the thing that bothers me. Why can't he show up on Raw and be involved in a tag team match where he never tags in? Why?
Yeah.
Why can't he? You could say he wrestled. He never even had to tag into the match. Why can't they figure out ways to include him in a match where he doesn't even have to compete? Like, how simple is that to have him come in there, F5 a guy, pin him, and walk out?
Jesus Christ! Hold on. So I'm looking at more Okada stats. His second reign was for 391 days, and he had 8 successful defenses. Jesus Christ! Also, like, Okada's fourth reign, the 720 days, is, I believe, it's the longest reign and the most successful defenses of an IWGP Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah. But at some point, it's apples to oranges. They're not the same thing. They just don't have that many.
I know you have brought it up as like the fanboy comparison, and listen, I saw that too, and I can definitely see where the comparison comes from, because if you look at straight facts, Lesnar's defended it 10 times, Okada defended it 12 times. Yeah, that looks the same, so they're on the same boat. But yeah, like anybody that understands knows that it is nowhere near the same. And plus, it's the quality of matches. And this goes back to kind of what Peachy was saying earlier, is that Lesnar does a German suplex, does an F5, and maybe does like a spear type thing and throws his body at somebody. And that's about it. Okada, in that time frame, has put on, was it, a 6-star match, a 6 1/4, a 6 1/2, or no, 2 6-star matches, a 6 1/4, and a 7-star match.
Yeah.
Just right there. I'm pretty sure his match with Naito was 5 stars at Wrestle Kingdom. And I forget the other I think he had a match with Evil, which was pretty high up there too. Those are grueling matches that he puts on. So, like, that's, to me, like, that's where that comparison goes kind of right out the window. That if anybody's actually comparing, they've never watched an Okada match.
Yeah, not at all.
Not at all.
And that's and again, I guess to go back to what Peachy said about the style matches and stuff, I think in a sense, and we've talked about this probably way too much about Lesnar. I like the fact that his moveset's so limited because he doesn't need to have one. He's an imposing figure. He doesn't need it. But yeah, like you said, if he was putting on 7-star matches for all 10 defenses, you take that. You take it, and you're fine with it. As a wrestling fan, you're fine with it. If he's coming out and putting on Okada-style matches, you're okay with only seeing him every once in a while because it is such a big deal when he's there. And that's fine from a wrestling fan's perspective.
The idea of Brock Lesnar putting on Okada-style matches, when you said that, the thought in my head was Lesnar doing Okada's dropkick. And, like, that would be incredible to see. Right? Peach, have you ever seen Okada's dropkick?
No.
Hold on, wait a second. Did you just say no? You said no. Peach, you were involved in an episode where we talked about the 3 matches they had leading up to the 4th.
Yeah, and I told you I didn't watch any of them.
And he still hasn't watched them.
Didn't you post it under Apron Work Podcast on Facebook? Like one of the matches?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
IWGP released the oh god, which one was it? The Dominion, the draw.
Right.
The 60-minute draw, I think they released on like their free match of the week.
I just needed to reiterate this. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
That Peachy's on a wrestling podcast that did a whole episode on his matches
Okada,
where
Omega.
He did 8,000 drop kicks and he's never seen one.
Well, Okada is probably what do you think? He's 6'2", 6'3"? Rest pass? Maybe
even a little bit taller.
We'll go 6'5" at the most. Well, when he does his drop kick, he gets taller than he is in the air to hit the drop kick. It's ridiculous. It's one of the most beautiful drop kicks I've ever seen. Every time he pulls it off, it's incredible. So the thought of Brock Lesnar doing one of those Okada-style drop kicks would just be that would be the greatest show on turf. Right there. That's what that would be.
But that's like even in New Japan, like Lesnar was thought because he's a freak of nature. Like they,
he's a former IWGP Heavyweight Champion.
He is, but that's the thing. Like he can go anywhere he wants to, show up and sell out a show. Like he just can.
It's kind of impressive when you think about it. Honestly, like how much he has. Go ahead, Peach.
The only redeeming thing about Brock Lesnar is Paulie.
Oh, that was so beautiful. Oh, and he kicked out.
Spoiler.
Oh man!
Not for the people at home. You're Every single one is in front of me. All right. Every single time you're watching something, you're ahead of me. I just seen it now. Thank you. Now I know he kicks out.
Yeah, Styles just did a 450 splash onto Rusev off of the rope.
All right, Peach, what were we saying?
The only redeeming thing about Brock Lesnar is Paulie.
Is quality?
Paulie.
Oh, Paulie.
But to be honest with you, Peach, and we see what happened with All In and everything like that. They can go anywhere they want in the country. A random wrestling company. I pick anything out of the hat. I won't even say ROH. A random wrestling company could show up with Lesnar in the main event, and that thing's selling out. He doesn't have to be with Paul Heyman. It's selling out. If you do enough promotion that people know he's going to be there, it's selling out.
But here's the thing. I'll challenge you on that. Why, at this point now,
I'm talking about,
how is Paul Heyman the saving grace of Lesnar?
Because Lesnar has no personality.
But
he is nothing. Like, Paulie is the only thing that makes like this athletic soap opera fun. It's not Brock.
But that's from a WWE perspective, from a week in, week out, a company that has 300 shows out of a year. But from a wrestling perspective, where most might have a couple shows a month, you know, that is shown on TV. I don't know, how often does ROH have shows? Well, I don't know.
I think every weekend. Normally.
Every week. Okay, so let's say let's say 8 hours of content a month for some of these, the bigger ones below WWE. 8 hours of content. Lesnar doesn't need a mouthpiece in those scenarios. He does when there's 20 hours of content a week. Or 25. Yeah. He needs somebody there for him. He needs a mouthpiece in WWE environment.
Yeah, but even with that, like, Paul Heyman is a broken record now at this point. And, like, the shock value of Paul Heyman to me has gone away with Lesnar as champion in this current run. I agree. Paul Heyman is one of the best mouthpieces.
And he heats good heat.
Yeah, he is great at that. But now, like, he's just... the whole thing to me is boring. With Lesnar, with Paul. Like, I don't get excited when I see Paul Heyman. No. Because he's actually... His intro's annoying now with the reigning undisputed champion. Like, just because it's just boring. Like, I don't, like, have anything else to say. You know exactly what he's going to say. Like, he doesn't really get controversial anymore because there's nothing to get controversial about. Because everything is out in the open. Like, so, it'd be cool. Let's say the Lesnar UFC thing. WWE has addressed it. They released statements on it. What if they didn't say anything about it or something like that, and then Paul kind of mentions it? Then, you know, that's not bad. Or, you know, Paul kind of touches on some of, like, the internet rumors. Like, I think he did that a little while ago when there were rumors of Lesnar going to UFC. Before anything was official. And that's kind of the shock and awe value. But Paul's not bringing that anymore with this. Paul Heyman is phoning in probably just as much on the Lesnar stuff as much as Lesnar. He tries to make it work. Like, he's doing other stuff. Like, I think he... I forget what he just did. I thought I read something that he just wrote or something like that was really good. I really forget what it is. But... You're right. Heyman as Lesnar's mouthpiece definitely helps it, but it's still so far down the barrel or like down the shithole that it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, if he's only showing up 3 times a year, Lesnar, I mean, there's only so much Heyman can come out and do.
Yeah, like the most recent one they did was the with Samoa Joe. When Samoa Joe was threatening Paul Heyman, like, he came up and, like, put his hand, like, on his, neck and was, like, Samoa Joe telling Heyman, like, I'm going to choke you out now. Heyman's reaction was perfect, but they've been through all these storylines that nothing's different.
Yeah, unfortunately, what he needs is a stable. At very least, another guy.
He is married to Sable.
Not Brock Lesnar. Heyman needs a stable.
Oh, okay. Oh, stable.
Yes,
I thought you said Sable.
I'm
like, okay.
But he needs he needs at least one other guy that he's out there kind of promoting. And then,
but Paulie's also up there. Do you think he really wants that?
No, I don't think he does. But that's where Walton's point comes in, where he's phoning it in, because I don't think he wants to do that. I think he's there. I think he's there more at Brock Lesnar's request than at WWE's request.
Yes.
I think that everything he says about them and everything that's said about them being close and stuff like that is true. And I think Lesnar wants him there more than he wants to be there.
I agree with that. If Paul had more creative control, maybe he would want to be there more. But I don't think so. And, like, I get nervous, like, with Paul Heyman. Like, remember when they tried to do the whole Paul Heyman guy thing and they stuck him with Curtis Axel and then Ryback? Yeah. Those did not work. And that's just what, like, I don't know who they could stick him with for it to work. Like, the only person is, and I think we've all said it was, like, maybe Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
Because that's...
Give them all the UFC people.
It would work for that, and then he could be a mouthpiece for her, which is the only thing she really needs because she is legitimate.
Yeah.
As a wrestler. And that, like, to me, that's awesome. Like, it's great. She's been putting on great like, she's only had 2 matches, I think. 2, 3, maybe 2. But they were both much better than I think we kind of all expected.
Yeah.
Her and
she's out there doing daily stuff. Like, she's doing the promos. She's out there every week.
But she's out there.
That's because she wants
she's not
to
out
be.
There every week. Yeah, she's not out there every week, Peach.
Yeah,
obviously,
she's really
you don't follow the product. She's suspended.
But she's involved.
But she's at house shows. She's at house shows.
Yeah, she's involved with everything. But that's because she wants to be. If she told them, "I want the same deal as Brock Lesnar," they would have said, "Yes, ma'am," and let her have it. She's doing this because she wants to do it. And that's the biggest difference, and that's where the fans see it. If she competed as little as Lesnar does, fans would appreciate it because she would be coming out trying new things, stuff like that, because she's a fan. And you get that from her when she's out there. Unfortunately, it takes away a little bit of her badassness, is because you can tell she's just like a giddy little girl that's so happy to be out there, that's been wanting to do this her whole life, and it shows. Which sucks because she could be the perfect person to just come out, not say anything, do a Lesnar style thing. But it's blatantly obvious that she's trying, and her matches could have been way worse, and fans would appreciate that she's out there and trying because it's obvious that she's out there and trying.
And you definitely see that with her now because, like, listen, when she first came in at, like, the Rumble, we were there. You know, we were excited and it was like, what's this going to turn into? Because you knew she signed a contract, she was going to be training, but was it going to be a Lesnar type thing? And they are giving her a quote-unquote Lesnar treatment in the sense that she's not on TV a lot. She's not wrestling a lot on Raw. She didn't wrestle at this pay-per-view. They had her kind of... she came in during the match and kind of attacked afterwards. But that's what they needed to do for her. Because she's doing the house shows. What is it? WWE was just in Philly last Friday, I think. And she was at the house show. She wrestled at the house show in Philly. And I think she's doing the whole house show circuit to help train. So that shows that she's interested. Lesnar does house shows, but they're only the big house shows. Like you said, Madison Square Garden. He'll do a Chicago house show. And even those are, like, he'll do maybe 2 a year or something like that. But, yeah, Lesnar, to me, is, like... So, to kind of tie into, I know you did it, like, so we're talking about the UFC thing. Here, let's ask this. Do you think we kind of touched on it already, but does he fully go back to UFC, or does he stay split half and half? I think he stays split half and half. I think he has both Dana White and Vince McMahon by the balls, and he'll wrestle, you know, he'll do UFC once every 2 years type of thing. And when he's not doing UFC, he's going to be doing wrestling matches for the WWE.
I disagree purely because I don't know at his age he can continue to do UFC once every 2 years. I think. Let's say he beats Cormier. They're not going to be okay with him not fighting again for another 2 years with their championship.
They were fine with what's his name? Why can't I think of his name? The fucking Irish guy.
McGregor?
Yeah. They were fine with him not wrestling with both titles for 2 years.
Was it 2 years?
I think so.
I thought it was like 6 months and people were pissed off.
Still, though. Like, he has...
Because usually the title... Remember, it's UFC. At most, guys fight twice a year. Like, you're not
right.
fighting multiple times. And I think he might have fought with one title 1 year, with another title next year. But UFC constantly... If a guy doesn't, like, defend it at their certain amount of time, they have interim titles and all that other stuff. That's what happened before.
Yeah, but McGregor did that. Like, he won the belt off Alvarez. That was his last UFC fight, I believe, before he went into box Mayweather.
But again,
and then they did put in an interim champion, but McGregor hasn't come back yet. The biggest thing McGregor did with UFC is when he threw a fucking chair through a bus.
But there's a difference when you look at McGregor and Lesnar. First of all, McGregor's younger. Second of all, McGregor does not have the established WWE credibility to just come back and do it whenever he wants. Could he? Absolutely. Lesnar knows he can always fall back on WWE. He could be 65. He can come back and wrestle WWE, and they'll take him back with open arms.
Will UFC let a champion wrestle in the WWE?
I don't know that they will.
Because if he gets hurt, they're screwed over.
But they have interim champions.
Yeah, and that's true, but I don't know that they'll be perfectly fine with him coming back. I'm not saying he's not going to split time, but I don't expect to see him wrestle again until WrestleMania. Unless they book him for SummerSlam. Unless there's some type of deal with this UFC thing where they say, hey, look, we want you to lose the title to Bobby Lashley at SummerSlam. Show up on Raw. We'll set up the match. Lashley will beat you at SummerSlam. You'll come back at WrestleMania. Focus on your UFC. I don't see him doing both. Why should he? Why should he? The amount of money he's going to make from the Cormier match, why should he continue to show up with WWE?
Right. Because it's easy money.
Yeah, but why should he wrestle? He's making
if he
money
gets hurt in
just
WWE.
Show up. I expect him to show up. I don't expect him to wrestle.
Okay. And so, maybe that's... Yeah, he'll wrestle at some point, I think. Just because he'll get thrown in a gimmick match with Kurt Hawkins.
But when?
And just do... I don't know.
I don't see him until WrestleMania.
After SummerSlam, or...
No, the WrestleMania that shows up before SummerSlam.
No. So SummerSlam's coming up in 5 weeks. Is he... are you saying we're not seeing him now until WrestleMania 35? Or are you saying we're going to see him at SummerSlam and then not again until WrestleMania 35?
I know this is a cop-out, but we'll find out tomorrow night. Well, we'll have found out last night. I honestly think we're not seeing him wrestle again until WrestleMania.
Do you see him sitting in the stands and shit?
No.
Now,
that's stupid.
What you see, you'll probably see him randomly show up. He might show up at SummerSlam, but not be involved in SummerSlam.
He won't. He's not. Brock Lesnar has...
But I'm not saying as a fan, I'm saying he shows up to kind of like... I see him...
Set up a match?
For WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's possible.
I see him showing up maybe once or twice to set up a match, and then you won't see him again until 2 or 3 Raws before WrestleMania.
Yeah, fair enough. Peach, what do you think? See split time?
Yeah. He's going to do whatever he can do to make money. UFC is going to be the bigger paycheck, and then he's just going to bounce back to WWE when he feels like it.
But now, are you saying depending on what happens with UFC?
Man, this was nice. We didn't have John Madden for 2 weeks. This is great to have him back.
When you're saying he's going to bounce back and forth, do you mean over the next 5 years, or leading into his Cormier match?
Over the 5 years. I doubt you see him much, because if he actually signs the contract for Cormier and gets the fight, he's not going to go anywhere near the ring for WWE.
Yeah, and that,
there's no way he's going to jeopardize making that paycheck.
And that's where I agree with you. And Walt, I think you're a little bit off. Is if he gets hurt, that match is off.
And in any way he breaks a finger,
that match is off. Him and Cormier match is off,
and he makes no money.
Yeah. He's going to make money by making a couple weird appearances for WWE. Whatever that contract, that crazy amount of money, was it $100,000 for appearance or something even bigger than that for just appearance? But if that's all correct, why not just show up? He doesn't have to wrestle, because if he wrestles and tweaks a knee or does something, and now suddenly he can't fight the Cormier match, now that's gone. That paycheck is gone. Where the WWE paycheck will always be there. It's actually only going to get higher with him with the UFC. It's only going up. He's not going down. They're offering him more money at the next contract to keep him around, and he knows it. And adding UFC champion again only brings more money in him in UFC, and it only brings more money in WWE. Where adding 6 more months on his Universal Championship reign adds nothing.
Sorry, I'm shaking my head. I'm watching right now Ziggler versus Rollins, and I'm just like in the Iron Man match. And
did they just give him? Oh my god! 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minute fucking roll up.
Why do this? Why do this match at the end?
What the funniest thing is? I read this right after this match got announced. Their Raw IC title match went for 32 minutes. Why is a 30-minute Iron match that big of a deal?
Well, when it gets tied and then they wrestle for 20 more minutes afterwards.
But an Iron Man match fits like the Extreme Rules.
That's not Extreme Rules.
It's not a hardcore
match. But I mean the pay-per-view.
Why?
It's an Extreme Rules. It's not the normal rules for a match.
Yeah, no, I get that, but
I mean, it's technically a normal match. It's just whoever gets as many pins. Like, there's disqualifications and countouts and stuff.
Yeah. Well, no, to Peachy's point, it's a gimmick match. That's what Extreme Rules is. There's a gimmick to it, even though it's if they didn't wrestle for 32 minutes on Raw like 3 weeks ago, this match I'd be fine with.
They should have done an Extreme Rules Iron Man match.
They should have did an hour one. I want to see an hour Iron Man match.
Didn't I say that earlier, and you gave me shit for it? Were we recording when that happened, or was that pre? Do you remember that, Peach?
I think I was pre.
I said we should do an hour, and you were like, but they can't. And then we started talking about something else.
I don't remember that.
I said this match is going to go in last, and it should have been an hour. And then you said, but they can't. And I think you never got to your point, but I know for a fact, and I'm thankful that Peachy's agreeing, because I remember saying this, and you wrote it off right away, and now you're trying to use it on the show. So thank you for stealing my point, Walt.
I literally don't remember hearing the hour part.
Unless you were disagreeing that it was going to be the main event, I'm not sure. But I told you it was going to be the main event, and they should have put it on for an hour.
I would agree with the hour thing. I must not have heard you saying an hour.
Yeah, you probably just heard me say main event. That's probably.
Yeah.
We'll go
thank
with
Thank you. Okay. Back to Lesnar, and I forget what the other question I had is. It's who's he lose the title to? So, or does he just get stripped?
What do they do for his ego, his personality? Do they strip it from him, or do they try to set up like a UFC thing, interim champion until he comes back at WrestleMania next year?
WWE doesn't really do interim champions.
See that I can see Strowman cashing in, him showing up on Raw, and Strowman cashing in, and I could see them stripping him. He definitely does not lose it clean, because when he comes back, he'll lay claim to his title. So he absolutely positively does not lose it cleanly. Come on, stop making motions. All right,
you'll see in a minute.
I just seen the curb stop. Okay, let's stay on point here. I have work tonight.
Yeah, I know.
But I don't see him losing it clean. I'm going to predict that Strowman cashes in on Monday night tomorrow.
Does Lesnar get beat up before Strowman cashes in?
Yes.
By who?
Whoever they want him to wrestle when he comes back. See, that is the problem with that theory. Because I could see Strowman cashing in at SummerSlam after Reigns and Lashley wrestle again for the title or something like that. So.
Oh my God, that's gonna be your main event for SummerSlam.
What, Lashley and Reigns for the title?
Lashley, Reigns, and Lesnar for the title. Lashley, Reigns, and Lesnar triple threat match for the title.
See, I could see Lashley. See, I think they set it up for Lashley to beat Lesnar for the title, but then they didn't main event it. Like, if you were going to have Lashley beat Lesnar, wouldn't that be your last match of the night? I don't care if Ambrose comes out. Like, wouldn't that be your main event?
It should.
For this pay-per-view, to hype up Lashley as this dominant thing that can finally beat Lesnar. Not a middle-of-the-card match.
Yeah, true.
So that's the downfall of all that, which is why I can see... I could see them teasing Strowman using the cash-in, and then Lesnar's not there. And then they end up basically stripping the title while Paul Lee's out there, like, trying to say, no, don't do it, you know. So I just talked myself out of the cash-in, and I'm going with strip.
Strip.
What do you think, Peach?
He said
strip.
He said he wants to see Paulie strip.
Yes, I do. I'm worried about Paulie's physique. I want to see what he looks like naked.
Peach, are you just saying strip because you don't know what the current storylines are for anything to match up appropriately?
I don't see him walking into the ring at all to wrestle. If he gets to sign a contract to lose the belt, he will be stripped of it. He won't wrestle.
I think he signed the contract for the Cormier fight. So yeah, like everything, like it makes sense. Like I think he's getting stripped of it too. I think probably, like as we were talking here, I think your main event at SummerSlam is going to be Lesnar or Reigns, Lashley for the title.
Maybe they can have a tournament.
They're going to do some weird thing where they strip him, and then Strowman comes in and cashes it in his Money in the Bank contract, and there's no champion, so they just give it to him. Tell me that's not WWE style booking. Like, there's nothing that says in the contract that if there's nobody to compete against, that you can't still cash it in. And he's just going to cash it in with a ref there, and they're just going to hand him the title. They're just going to count Lesnar out. That's what's going to happen. Like, they're like, we told him he had to be here, he's getting stripped, and then they're just going to count him out. And then Strowman's going to win the title by cashing in, by counting out. There's my bold prediction.
I think they bring Nicholas back.
Nicholas against Strowman for the title. Tell me that's not something you could see possibly happening. There's no fine print in the Money in the Bank contract that says anything that if there's no champion, what happens.
Oh yeah,
and he just lays claim to the title with the Money in the Bank contract.
I could even see it maybe being a triple threat match then. Like that's where then it becomes Roman, Lashley, and Strowman.
And Strowman beats the hell out of them. He doesn't use his contract for the match. He beats the hell out of them.
Well, no, the contract is what gets him into the match.
No, I say he doesn't use it, right? And then he kind of backs off. He lets them beat the hell out of each other. He lets Reigns win, just kind of backs out. And then he goes in and beats Reigns for the title. And that's how it ends. After Reigns just won it, he goes ahead and beats Reigns for the title.
I would love to see that.
But it's going to be something cheesy. Reigns put up such a good effort against Lashley that he deserves another title shot.
Yeah. That's exactly what you're going to get. Because Reigns beat Undertaker at WrestleMania 2 years ago.
Yeah, he deserves the title match now.
Yeah. again, I'm shaking my head because now I'm more bothered by this. It's been under 15 minutes since this match has been on, and we've had 6 pinfalls.
No, you haven't had 6 pinfalls. You've had disqualification.
Yeah, pay attention.
5 pinfalls and a disqualification.
And Ziggler got 3 pinfalls after Drew McIntyre beat the hell out of Rollins. That was the only way he can get any pinfalls. And now there won't be another one. It'll be 3-3.
Yeah.
And then Dean Ambrose will come in at the very end.
I hope you're right with that. It's going to be the saving grace for my night because, like, I don't like Lesnar. Like, I like him as the gimmick match, but not as anything champion. So I'm I'm annoyed with him that he's the champion. And then Peachy's back and provided the most useful insight, so this has been great. And now this match is bothering me. So it's just a bad day in the life of Walton.
But all right, well, since you're doing a very good job wrapping this episode up, Pete, you have any final thoughts on Brock Lesnar?
Great job, thank you, Mike.
I heard in the most recent WWE wrestling game, you can only play him 3 times a year.
Funny enough, so Peachy brought up a story earlier. He's like, I saw some news online that says Raw's going to 5 hours. He read it off of Kayfabe News and thought it was real. That was the highlight of my night.
Oh, man. We should have done a whole episode on that and just let Peachy continue to think that was real. Oh. And then tell him at the end of it, like...
That'll be our April Fool's joke.
Yeah.
I'll send him over a link to a news story and say, hey, this is what we're talking about this week. It's not a bad idea.
I'll prepare.
That would be the time you'd prepare for it.
No, it won't. Let's be real.
I know.
Mike, do you have any final thoughts?
On
Lesnar?
No. I mean, I expected it to eventually happen. I think we all expected this UFC thing to eventually happen. And if the saving grace out of this is that they get the title off of them, then I'm perfectly happy with that.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat as you. I want the title off him. I want the title defended monthly. It like the thing that sucks about it is I like that there is a long reign with the title.
Yeah.
But the way it's like the CM Punk long reign I thought was great. Because to me that added prestige to the title. Like he was defending it all the time, every pay-per-view. Like I think he missed like 1 or 2 because of injury. But was defending it all the time, really added some prestige I think to it. Lesnar I think took all of that away. And the worst part about it is the Universal Championship had not a whole lot of prestige to it anyway.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that needed the workmanship. Like that should have been what Styles has. Like that needed that workhorse kind of with the title for a while, which is what they tried to do with Baylor when he originally got it. I mean, for the whole 10 minutes he had it. But I think that was the thought process, was that he was going to hold it for a while and kind of build it up a little bit. And yeah, like you said, they took anything away from it by not defending it.
Exactly. So, with that being said, I mean, I guess we're done for this week.
Yeah.
So, Peach, it was great to have you back. It was nice to hear your voice all throughout this episode.
I try.
It shows. Oh man, we're back to normal, guys. This is nice.
Yes, it is.
I will say real fast at the end of this episode, big thank you to Greg Hall and Matt Fica the last couple weeks for filling in for Peachy. Thank you to Eve for adding that bark there as well. I appreciate that. But no, thanks to them for filling in. Those were good episodes, good times. It was awesome. We do appreciate you guys jumping on. We hope both of you had a good time, good conversation, and
we hope to have him back.
Yes, we hope you take more vacations.
Yes, very soon, hopefully. Thank you to both of them. Peach, whenever you get around to it, listen to it. They did a great job.
Yeah, Peach, subscribe, share to the podcast. It'd be nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I already am, but I just haven't had the time.
But yeah, I don't think we have a topic yet picked out for next week.
Now I weeks ago had basically labeled next week's episode as the week where Peachy finally gets hit with paintballs. But since we have not set anything up for that, I'm going to say that's not going to happen. Who knows?
Who knows? I'm probably going to agree with you.
Who knows? It'll happen soon, hopefully. Trust me, for those of you out there that are waiting for this to happen, I am waiting for it to happen too. I'm excited. I'm pushing very hard for this to happen.
He is.
Yes.
He's almost borderline annoying with it. One thing to help, to keep you guys look forward to, I think we kind of decided before this episode, we are going to do a full Summerslam prediction show. One for the Raw match, just like we did for WrestleMania.
Yes.
We'll cover the NXT matches. We're going to do Raw and SmackDown. Each one's going to get their own episodes. We might try to get some special guests for those episodes too. We don't know yet. Just to kind of mix it up a little bit. We'll go with our scorecard that we've been keeping all year.
Yes.
But so those should be fun. I enjoyed the first ones we did. So
yeah, Peach got so bored that he dropped out for the NXT part. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But so just to get you guys to look forward to that possibly. But yeah, with that being said, if nobody has anything else, Peach, I know you missed it, the awkward outro. That is the most substance you provided to an episode in the 20 or so episodes, or 18, 19, whatever we have so far. What the hell is that?
I'm telling you to wrap it up.
Oh, man.
I still gotta get changed.
All right, with that being said, so Mike can get changed and we can watch him get naked and all that stuff. Hey, everyone, thank you for listening. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. Hope you enjoy it. Until next week, we will catch you guys later. Have a good one. You're an asshole.